What's going on, Dan K Show fans? It's a big week in the hockey world as the Dan K Show is ready to present its Power Rankings for the first time this year. We've got a month of hockey in the books. We've got teams all over the country playing this great sport we love so much. And it's going to be a tough show to get through this week for Lucas and I, because obviously as of now, all of our viewers know, and all the hockey fans, coaches, players, scouts around the country, around the world, have found out the tragic news about the passing of Ryan Frew, head coach, GM of the New Hampshire Junior Monarchs. But beyond that, and Lucas will attest to this, we've said it before, we said it a bunch throughout this whole thing. It was a fight for Ryan, and he was one of the best people we've ever interacted with, not in the game of hockey, just in life. This is a guy who cared. He cared. He cared about every single person who put on that uniform. He cared about every guy who laced up those skates. I still remember the first time meeting him, and we're just two stupid hockey guys, folks. What we do, we love what we do, and we obviously care about what we do. But in the end, we're just two young guys trying to talk about hockey and trying to help guys to the next level. And Coach Frew looked at us like we were Doc Emmerich and Eddie O walking in every time he saw us. He treated us incredibly. He was always helpful. He was always there with a joke, always there with a laugh. We every single time we got up to New Hampshire, got a chance to get that maple syrup he'd get us for free off the cart. He got us mugs when we wanted to be a part of the mug club. He was an absolute beauty. The term is not enough. To the Frew family, we absolutely cannot understand. The loss of this human will reverberate through the game of hockey for years. There is just so much of this game that has been affected, that has been touched by Coach Frew, and it's impossible to even find the words for it, Lucas. Hockey is secondary right now. Power rankings are secondary right now, and what's first is holding on tight to those you love and remembering just how lucky we all are to get to be here, whether you're a coach behind the bench, a player on the ice, or a parent watching their son or daughter at home playing this game.
Yeah, it's unimaginable. When you heard the news, your first thought is always optimism. So it's unimaginable to think that we're here right now. Coach Frew is absolutely the heart and soul of that rink, of that team, of that town. We call them the Monarchs family, Narcs Nation, for a reason. If it was Narcs Nation, he was their leader. So it is this is a conversation, a show opening that we hoped and prayed that we wouldn't have to do. So I think our hearts go out to Ryan Frew's family, his friends, all of Monarchs Nation, past, present. And now you kind of have to have that tough, the Monarchs have to now play a season with it. And I cannot imagine what that team, that program is going to have to go through these next few weeks.
Yeah, I just, again, to the entire organization, anything we can do to help, anything we can do to be there, obviously we will. And if you want to find out more about ways to help the Frew family, you can check out the New Hampshire Junior Monarchs social media pages. That's at NHJR Monarchs or at Junior Monarchs CR for their community relations page. I know Lex, Coach D'Alessio, and the whole team up there, there's no words. And we love you guys. And Coach Frew, man, we hope that you're watching over an incredible season of hockey here. I hope that 2020 can shape up, because this year has just been a lot for everybody. I can guarantee you that. Everybody throughout the game, from scouts to coaches ourselves, it's been a lot. And, we deal with these things in life, and we tend to forget just how important the little things are and how lucky we all are to be here each and every day. Coach Frew, we love you. All right, hockey fans, now it is time to get in to the Power Rankings, our first Power Rankings of the year. Obviously, tough to start this conversation up, and we tell you guys every year, every time, man, you don't like where you're at in our top 10 Power Rankings, you don't like where you fall in the top 10, prove it on the ice. You know what I mean? You have your opportunity, you have your chance to get out there, you have your chance to play through it and show us just why we are wrong. But we, Lucas, feel pretty right this week. I mean, we went through the Elite, we went through the Premier, and really, there's a lot up in the air. We had a lot of differences, but we battled through it. We did our normal, debate, argument. Dan tries to get his way by kicking and screaming and throwing things, and then Lucas finally appeases him and gives in on some of his picks.
Well, it's a back and forth, right? It's a bit of a yin and yang, and some places you had to give a little, some places I had to give a little, and as you see, when we get to the Premier, there might have been a couple of teams where neither one of us wanted to give, and we had to throw our hands up and just take a tie.
Yeah, and you look at this Elite division is where we start. We want to remind you that the Power Rankings all year long, the USPHL's Dan K Show Power Rankings, presented by Elite Junior Profiles. That's Elite Junior Profiles, EliteJRProfiles.com. It's an incredible group of people running an incredible opportunity for players to get themselves seen and recruited to the next level. Well, whether that be in your junior hockey world or moving on to the next level to college following your junior hockey career. Also, parents, it's not just for hockey. It's for everything. Baseball, volleyball, softball, ice hockey, figure skating, anything you can think of, you get on there, you check out EliteJuniorProfiles.com, and you get yourself seen by the best of the best.
Yeah, it's a great place to go check out. Really gives a lot of young athletes a good leg up, increases visibility. It helps with recruiting, and the way that they do things over there is very state of the art, very new age, and works very well with what a lot of scouts are looking at these days.
Now let's talk about what the Dan K Show is looking for. It is time for the Elite Power Rankings presented by Elite Junior Profiles. Let's get into it. We immediately get controversial. Not as controversial as the Dan K Show, Dan K painting in the background here. Kudos there. But this one is big because we put at number 10 a Dan K special, the Potomac Patriots. I was able to argue Lucas into this one at number 10. An 0-4 squad, but a team that is hung tough with probably the most difficult first 4-game schedule in the USPHL Elite.
Yeah, I mean, we often talk about how tough this Southeast Division is, and that's true for both the Elite and the Premier Leagues. And you look at the Potomac Patriots, and there's a team it's more than meets the eye right now because, yes, they are 0-4. Yes, they've only scored 5 goals, but I think the real thing you have to look at is that goal differential. It's only at -9 right now through 4 games against potentially the 2 toughest teams in the Southeast, if not the entire Elite division. So when you talk about some of the opponents that the Patriots had, you kind of have to give it to them here for hanging in there. That they have managed to not get blown out. They've managed to be competitive. I think that's why they're number 10.
And now we go, Lucas, 8 and 9. I'm going to unveil together 8 and 9 because the idea is this is the controversial in a different way. Where Potomac's 0-4 and hits the 10 spot, these are 2 teams that haven't played a game yet. I know, Lucas, you were a little leery about putting teams in that hadn't played yet, but lineage reigns supreme. I've got the Cyclones at 8, the Rockets Hockey Club at 9, and this is because neither of these teams at the Elite level have ever, since the start of our power rankings, been outside the top 10 in the Elite.
Well, for folks who don't know, who are new to the league, the way Dan and I do our power rankings, there's no formula, there's no magic number, there's no computer here. We dive into the stats, we work off a shared stat sheet, and then we make our picks separately and unveil them at the same time. And I called Dan and I said, what are you doing putting teams who haven't played a game in the power rankings yet? And he stated his case, and he makes a good case, folks. And it's a situation where, even though we haven't seen the teams yet this year, there's a lot of very familiar names. You've got some players on these 2 squads who are veterans, guys who are coming back, and guys whose names we do know. And I think that's incredibly helpful because even though these teams haven't necessarily played that first game, when they do, it's going to be a very familiar look. And Dan made a great point. He said, Lucas, these 2 teams are going to be good, and if you don't put them in your power ranking now, they're going to make you regret it come November.
100%. They tend to do that, these 2 teams, too. I mean, we've underestimated them before. One team here who's going to feel underestimated who hasn't played yet either is the New York Aviators, who 2 years in a row have knocked this Rockets hockey club out in the postseason at the elite level and made a trip to the Nationals. So they're going to have a bone to pick with us. And once again, without a game played, it's going to come down to who puts it out there on the ice and who gets wins. And that's up in the air, that spot there.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting spot to battle. I wouldn't be surprised if these teams start shooting up towards the top. Like I said, come October, come November, when they have a few more games under their belt, I think you'll see why we put them in the top 10.
Let's head to the number 7 spot. And this is an interesting one for Dan K because, Lucas, I love this team this year at both levels, but they went into Richmond and had trouble against the defending national champions at the elite level. It's the Charlotte Rush. This is a deep team, a difficult team to play, and if you fall behind them, it's just about lights out for you each time because they know how to put games away.
Yeah, it's so difficult. It's one of those things where you walk into Richmond and you have high expectations, especially because, hey, we're a team in the Southeast. We're pretty good at hockey too. And then you walk into Richmond and you get stomped a little bit. And it's a pretty sobering reminder of how good that team is to play. That also reflects positively on the Rush. You may not like the fact that we give so much deference to the Southeast, but they're just down there, knocking each other around. It's a big heavyweight fight in the Southeast. And, that gets reflected in the power rankings where the Charlotte Rush, sure, they're 2-2, but they have a positive goal differential. They're 12 goals for, 10 goals against. Their defense is good. Their offense is tenacious. The early seeds, I think, of a top 10 team are there, and I think that gets reflected this month.
Yeah, and then you look at this Rush team. They're going to continue to battle. It's a tough Southeast. This is a division that week in and week out, you're going to see it just flip-flop all year long. I mean, each month in these power rankings, these teams can jump a whole ton. And speaking of a team that can jump a whole ton this year, it's a team Lucas is in love with right now. We've got them at number 6 down in Florida. It's the Florida Eels at number 6. Lucas, this Eels team obviously always score friendly, score happy. They know how to put it in. Coach Alex Sanchez behind the bench, going to probably be an All-Dan K candidate here for the All-Dan K team behind the bench. They are really talented.
Yeah, they certainly are. And I think this is a good situation for the Florida Eels right now. They've got a very competitive Tampa Bay Juniors team that's in first place, and they've got a good Charleston Colonials team behind them. And this Mad Hatter squad as well, they're making improvements every year. So I think the Florida Eels are in a competitive division. They've got a lot of great talent on the team this year. We know how good Frank Scarpacci and the coaching staff are at developing these players, getting them the experience. And why is it every year that the Eels are a bit of a slow burn? That September is a little rough for them sometimes. They're not exactly where they want. I don't know if you can call it 3-1 rough. But once they get a showcase or two under their belt, they really start to show you why they're a top 10 team.
They really just stay calm. They're well coached. You know what I mean? It's a team that doesn't really have the ups and downs, the trials and tribulations. They're a real calm squad. And when they go into a game, they go into a weekend, you always feel like they're going to be competitive. And that's something I love about this Eels team. And now we move to another team that I love here. And this is the USPHL Elite Premier for the Islanders Hockey Club, to put it in all USPHL verbiage and confuse everybody. This is the inaugural season here of this elite squad here for the IHC organization. Islanders Hockey Club at number 5, undefeated start to the year. They look good. They're similar to what the Premier squad looked like last season out of the gates, where it was, okay, is this a flash in the pan? Is this out of nowhere that they're winning these games, that they're rolling off these winning streaks? Or do they just dominate the New England region right now? And right now it looks like IHC is dominating in the Northeast.
Yeah, you can't do much better than 4-0 there, Dan. You can't get any more wins than you have games played. And, one of the things that IHC is sort of always known for is their defense, and that's continuing to be strong. Only 9 goals allowed in 4 games, 19 goals for on the offensive side. So averaging just under 5 goals per game on that front. It's an encouraging start. What you want to see from IHC, if you're wondering how an undefeated team finds itself in 5th place, you want to find a little bit of a strength of schedule upgrade, and that can only happen as the season progresses. As you go to showcases, as you go to more events, as you play more games, you'll see that strength of schedule sort of figure itself out, because IHC always finds themselves right in the middle of a couple of tough games early on.
What's funny, too, about you talk about strength of schedule, and we don't know who anybody is, right? It's you go 1-0, the team you played is 0-1, so your strength of schedule just on record alone is going to look poor, right? But until we get into next month, it's really hard to decipher what the SOS is, what the strength of schedule
Mm-hmm.
is. So right now, it's really boiling it down to what we see on the ice from
Yep.
the leadership, from the coaching behind the bench, from the netminders, right? Like, I'll stand behind a goaltender this early in the year any day. And if you're getting good netminding, if you're winning close games, that's what matters to me more than who you're playing. It's the same reason why a team like the Potomac Patriots, 0-4, can be at the number 10 spot, because they've played tough competition and they played them tough. They've competed. There's not been a game where they've been kind of walked out of the gym. You know, they've really worked hard all season, and that's how they got to number 10. IHC at number 5. I mean, they keep winning games, they're going to keep moving up. That's just how this works.
Yeah, absolutely. You keep yourself undefeated. We saw that Islanders Hockey Club team go undefeated all the way into December last season up at the Premier level. So you keep winning games, and we'll keep moving you up.
Let's go to number 4. This is an interesting one here. This top 4 is very, very fun. There's a lot of talent. This can go any way as the year goes on. But first at number 4, it's the Carolina Junior Hurricanes, who they're getting goal scoring, they're getting defense, and they're playing in that difficult Southeast.
Yeah, they certainly are, and this is a team that I think, again, as you continue to watch them, as they continue to gel, they're going to start rising as well. And you get knocked around a little bit early on in the season. The Carolina Junior Canes right now tied for first place with the Hampton Roads Whalers, and so at that point it comes down to just which team looks a little bit more consistent. I think the only knock against Carolina right now might be excessive penalties. Just that inability sometimes to stay out of the box. We've seen how that can hurt you. We've seen time after time close games being lost due to being stuck in the box at the disadvantage. So we'll see if Carolina is able to sort of pull it together, maybe work on that discipline a little bit as we move into October.
Yeah, and I'm going to go Johnny Cash on you here and say I go to Jackson when I look for why this team's so good. And it's Jackson Verska in net for the Carolina Junior Hurricanes. 1-1 in the win-loss record, but I went for the wrong side. 2-0 with a win-loss record. 2 goals against average, a 911 saves percentage, and I think he's got a lot in front of him here. He's only allowed 4 goals in his 2 starts. He's going to have a lot for you. And then you look at Chase Williams. This is an 0-3, man. This kid was born after Finding Nemo came out, and he's out here in the top 5 in points for 4 goals, 3 assists. Luke Norman, nothing normal about this, Luke, man. Luke Norman with absolutely a big performance this past week, and 4 goals, no assists for him. This is a Carolina Junior Hurricanes team who will get it from everywhere. And speaking of a team that can do it in a million different ways, it's Lucas's least favorite organization, apparently, the Hampton Roads Whalers. I will continually throw them under the bus.
Well, and this was something that we had sort of talked about, right? It was, how do you pick which of these 2 teams that are tied gets to be higher than the other team? And Carolina Junior Canes, the first thing we do is, we go to the head-to-head. Well, of course, they split the head-to-head. So thanks, guys. Wasn't much help. So you have to go to the other games. And the Hampton Roads Whalers played the Potomac Patriots and beat them twice. You go back to the Carolina Junior Hurricanes side of things, and they were able to take 2 wins against the Mad Hatters. And I think for us, because the Potomac Patriots cracked that top 10, the Hampton Roads Whalers looked to be a bit of a stronger team because their wins came against an also top 10 team. The Hampton Roads Whalers are good. That's it. They're good every year. They bring in the talent. They bring in the depth. They were good last year through injuries. They're going to be even better this year through full strength. They've got some great talent on that squad.
It's a really good team. Evan Miles goes the extra miles. You know what I mean? They get the goaltending. They've been doing it all over. They've got a couple player of the weeks there at both levels, the elite and the premier, under their belts. I love this Hampton Roads Whalers team. I think if there's anybody that's going to challenge our top 2, right now I'd have my money on them. That is where I would go. But when you go to number 2, Lucas, we had this flip-flopped, and I won this battle with you here. And I went off past performance again, and that's something Lucas doesn't always love, right? You're an immediacy guy. You want to look at the numbers. You want to look at the stats. Meanwhile, I'm over here, and I don't know how to do easy addition and subtraction, okay? I couldn't be an accountant if I tried. But Tampa Bay Juniors, number 2 in our power rankings, the Tampa Bay Juniors. And this is an organization, Lucas, that has 7 of the top 20 point getters in the elite right now. They're getting it from all over. They're putting up a touchdown a game offensively, now more than a touchdown a game. I mean, Coach Stroh has it together down there, and this team has always been a notorious slow starter with a lot of young talent that takes a little while to gel, and I always guarantee a winning record at the Winter Showcase down in Florida. This year, if they have a winning record at the Florida Showcase, they might be undefeated.
Well, this is one of those rare instances, I think, Dan, where we sort of had to agree to disagree on this one, because I put Tampa Bay Juniors as number one. And I think Tampa Bay Juniors could beat our number one team. I'm willing to come out. I'm willing to say that I still believe they could beat our number one team in a weekend series, Dan. But I will give you this. The reason I like Tampa Bay Juniors at 2 and our eventual number one team at 1 is because of what you managed to convince me of this lineage. You look at the guys in the Tampa Bay Juniors, like you said, they have so many guys who are scoring points. They're beating all the teams in the Florida division, the skilled division. They beat the Eels 7-2, the Junior Blades 7-1. They beat the Charleston Colonials, this fundamentally sound squad, twice. The Tampa Bay Juniors are averaging over 7 goals per game right now, Dan, and they're averaging under 2 goals allowed per game. And those are really impressive stats to start the season, because what have we talked about? We've talked about how teams didn't get the normal run-up. They didn't get the practice. They didn't get the time to gel this year like they normally would have. And this Tampa Bay squad is rolling out there like they've grown up next to each other. Like these guys on the right wing, left wing have been playing together their entire lives. It's really incredible to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about this Tampa Bay Junior team. I agree with you, Lucas. They can certainly compete with our top squad, but they're not that squad that we have at number one. They're not going to like what you just said about them. You know what I mean? They're going to feel about your decision the same way that they feel about not having 86 sugars in their head coach's coffee. You know what I mean? That's how they're going to feel. And I'll tell you what, it is sweet to unveil our number one team, and that is the 2-0, still defending elite national champion Richmond Generals, and they continue to be at number one. They have been at number one in our elite power rankings now for every single month for the past 2 seasons. That is tough. Someone has to knock them off eventually. And as Ric Flair would always say, if you want to be the man, you've got to beat the man, Lucas. Woo! And I'll tell you what, a couple woos for this squad so far, because leading them in points after their opening weekend sweep of a Charlotte Rush team that I said would win the Southeast at both levels. Their opening weekend sweep of that Rush team, they said, hey, come into town and then get off our lawn. That's what they said. And you got Cam Williams, man. Cameron Williams lights Cameron action. A right defenseman with a 4-point opening weekend, a shorthanded assist, 2 power play assists. How about a special team specialty right there? Then you talk about Michael Stegall. This is the best. I mean, this guy is soaring like a seagull. That was terrible. I didn't have a good Steven Seagal joke, so I had to go with Michael Stegall with the seagull, and so that's where I went to. You know what? That joke wasn't good, but you know who is good? Jackson Good, right winger for the Richmond Generals. No goals, 2 assists on the year. You look at Cade Pollock. You look at Caleb Gold. You look at Gabriel Page turning a page. Centerman Noah Farley. You look at Everett. I mean, it's just Andrew Farley. You know, the year 04, the Farley family taking over in Richmond. There's so much talent. They are just so good. They get the net minding, and you try beating them in Richmond because no one can.
I'll tell you what. You go in and you look at the stats for that first game of the season. 10 minutes into the first period, the Charlotte Rush are up 3-0. So you talk about the first 3 goals scored in the first game of the season, all scored by the Charlotte Rush, and then follow that up with 6 Richmond Generals goals in a row. That's the kind of tenacity you need to succeed in the Southeast. That's the kind of dedication you need to succeed outside of that division when you go play these other teams. And there is the reason why the Richmond Generals have been on top as long as they have, because they refuse to get beat. They refuse to get dragged down. And to use another wrestling quote, Dan, the cream of the crop always rises to the top. And that's why this team has been as high as they've been for so long, because they are truly the cream of the crop year after year.
To use another wrestling word, you're a bit of a jabroni. But other than that, Other than that, I think this is a great top 10. You got the Potomac Patriots at 10, Rockets Hockey Club, Northern Cyclones 8 and 9 there, respectively. Without the games played yet, could go down, could go up. We will see. That difficult Charlotte Rush decision at 7. I really expect them to be higher next go around. Don't make me look dumb there, Charlotte Rush. The Florida Eels at 6, who could have easily been higher. IHC cuts it in half there at the 5 spot. They're undefeated. Can they continue on that route? Number 4, the Carolina Junior Hurricanes, just edging them out. The Hampton Roads Whalers at 3. Be careful for the whale. At number 2, the Tampa Bay Juniors. Lucas thinks they're number 1. And at number 1, Dan K with that Richmond Generals argument. Generals Juniors was the elite national title game just a moment ago, it seems like, Lucas, but it was 2 years ago now. Wow, we're getting old. Tampa Bay, Richmond, you're 1 and 2. We'll be back with the premier Power Rankings presented by Elite Junior Profiles next.
Head to EliteJRProfiles.com to find the best way to give your student athlete the tools and connections needed to reach their highest goals in both sports and academics.
All right, hockey fans, the Dan K Show had the unenviable task of trying to pick a top 10 premier power rankings list from the USPHL's premier division, with some teams not playing games yet, some teams playing more than others, tough matchups, tough losses that might have looked kind of more like a win to us. Like, a lot has happened in this premiere. A lot has not happened in this premiere. And this was the most difficult power rankings we've put together in a long time. To put it into perspective, Lucas and I had 8 teams different, not just positioning, but overall in our top 10s, and we did blindly.
Look, the bottom line here is we got to pick 10 teams out of 63 teams. You're looking at under 18. You're looking at 17% approximately of the league in this top 10. That is nearly impossible, especially when you start considering that you've got 7-8 divisions, and there's almost no way to parse it except for just throwing the top couple of teams that we feel like, and trying to work through the data a little bit. I think once we start to see more of these teams, as is with the premiere, we usually find our groove in like November, December. Dan and I do. So early on here, there was a bit of a disparity, but we worked through it. Well, we worked through almost every position, Dan, except for number 10.
That's it. But before we get to number 10, I remind everyone the number 1 overall premier power ranking selection, other than last year where a national champion was not crowned, has the number 1 in the first power rankings has always won the title.
Every time.
Every time. Why, Lucas?
Because we're the best that ever was?
Because we're incredible. Oh, okay, we didn't time that up right. We're the best around. Nothing's going to ever keep us down. But let's get into it. Top 10, like Lucas said, immediately, how do we start the premier power rankings? Dropping the gloves and going to fisticuffs, because this was a difficult one. And I'm going to tell you right now, the USPHL's Mountain Division has become the new Midwest West for us. I feel like it can't toss it. You look at the 3 matchups that have happened already. The Ogden Mustangs go and get swept by the Northern Colorado Eagles. The Pueblo Bulls then take 2 out of 3 from the Northern Colorado Eagles. The Pueblo Bulls then get swept by the Ogden Mustangs, and Dan K and Lucas Jones are here scratching our heads wondering what the heck is going on out in the mountains. And that's why it's a tie. It's a tie for 10. I like the Northern Colorado Eagles. We already said Pueblo as Pueblo and got made fun of for that. I don't want to mess up that. Northern Colorado Eagles, a Dan K selection. Pueblo Bulls, a Lucas Jones selection. This is a battle between the two of us. I went with the Northern Colorado Eagles just because I really have liked what I've seen. I know they lost 2 out of 3 to Pueblo. I understand Lucas's rationale there. It's not an incorrect rationale. But when I look at this situation, I got to look at top of the top, who's the guy that really, really spotlighted himself for me thus far. And for me, that's been Brennan McFarland, Nicholas Sampson, and Case Canchius. These 3 guys at the top of the Northern Colorado Eagles attack, a right winger, a centerman, and a top D-man. They just all seem confident to me with the puck on their stick. And if I had to pick between the 2 of them, one game, winner takes all, I feel like Northern Colorado could find a way.
See, I felt like the Pueblo Bulls sort of impressed me a little bit more. You know, you talk about the head-to-head, taking the 2 out of 3. That's huge as well. I like this offensive attack led by Benjamin St. Ange and Wyatt Anders right now. These two are just points machines, right? And these two guys are at 10 points for St. Ange, 9 points for Anders, respectively. 6 games played for both of them, obviously. St. Ange establishing himself as the assist man. Anders, 6 goals, 3 assists. He's your goal getter. I do like this Pueblos team. I think that even though their defense is not quite as efficient right now, I think their offensive attack makes up for it. I like the way that they play. They play very physical hockey. They're not afraid to really knock you back in next Wednesday if they have to. I think the most interesting thing here, Dan, is that these two teams play each other at the end of the month of October, just in time for our October power rankings. So this argument, I suspect, might get settled by next month.
In true Dan K Show fashion, I say we play Dan K's favorite game, Surprise Lucas, with an impromptu on-air wager. And that is what I think we're going to do, impromptu, Surprise Lucas on air, wager. Obviously, we've got to work on the title. Mm-hmm. But Lucas, best team record-wise out of the month. If it's a tie, it all comes down to the head-to-head. Loser, if I lose, I will purchase one of your beers you like from one of your reviews in the audio podcast. If you lose, you will get me one of my coffees I've liked. We can pick one from the reviews we've given, our favorite one of each, and we will have to get the other person the favorite review.
That sounds fine to me. I can send you a list of all the best places to buy all those beers because you're going to need them next month.
Sounds good. Let's go Northern Colorado. Eagles, caw! Going after the Bulls. I'll tell you what, I'd take a bull in a fight over an Eagle any day, but I got the high ground here, hoping that they can pull it off. Let's go to number 9. And number 9 is controversial because this team is 6-0. This team has the most wins in the Premier. They've taken care of business, and they have some big-time scores at the top of this thing. And Andrzej Dupal, Zestal Mazik, and Bailey Bird. And the Toledo Cherokee sit in the 9 spot. Lucas, you had him as high as 2nd, I believe?
Yes.
I had him down in the 9 spot, and somehow we've split the difference and put him where Dan had him.
Yes. I'm not quite sure how that happened, Dan. But like we said, these power rankings are a give and take. I think I took a couple of spots of mine farther up in the power rankings in exchange for you talking me into this Toledo number 9 ranking. And, you make a good point here, right? Because we talk about a team that's 6-0. We talk about a team that is winning close games against good teams. They are winning games by large margins, proving that they can score goals. Their goal differential is good. Their stats are good along the line. But I think what it comes down to, as we talked about in the Elite, you need to see a couple of different matchups here. And it's not quite strength of schedule because, like we said, we don't have a formula really for strength of schedule. We're looking at teams that they played. We're looking at their rosters. We're looking at what we know. And I just think that the Toledo Cherokee, in my mind, have shown that they've come out to a really, really good start here. But also I can acknowledge and I can acquiesce a bit to the idea that they need to play some different teams. And it looks like, Dan, they've got 2 coming up against the Lake Erie Bighorns and a big one on October 23rd against the Metro Jets.
Yeah, and one of the guys I want to really point out on this team, this squad that I love, is Devin Stroya, or as I call him, the Destroya. He is an absolute monster, man, at times when he gets going. And you look at his career, Lucas, he's bounced around this USPHL. He's played with a few organizations. He started with Toledo in 18-19, went over to the River Kings after a little trade piece. Then he played with the Charleston Colonials last year at the Premier level with a team that we really enjoyed watching, 8 goals, 7 assists. He comes back home to Toledo and immediately making his presence felt. 3 goals, 2 assists. I see big things on the horizon for the Destroyer. And I really, honestly, Lucas, if you told me to pick the top 10 right now, I probably would have put the Cherokee higher in this moment because I'm looking through it and I absolutely love what I'm seeing. So let's go to 8 before I start moving the Cherokee up there. Number 8. Can I see those antlers up? The Moose of Minnesota make it the number 8. What a big move for the Moose. The Moose and the Blue Hawks have been back and forth. I told you I have a hard time separating the two right now. I feel like the Blue Hawks play a big physical style that frustrates. The Moose can play physical, but they are a little more balanced. They try to do it from all different areas. The Blue Hawks, it's hit you and get out in a run. The Moose make the top 10, though.
Yeah, Dan, I've been talking about this Moose team for quite a while now, and I think the one thing that I said was they needed to find a playmaker, and I think they found it this year, but part of that comes from the support from a couple of O2s in Tristan Avaletta and Logan Lake. These are 2 assist-producing machines, 1 goal, 4 assists for Avaletta, no goals, 4 assists for Logan Lake. These young guys are going to be the backbone of this offense, and I think the one thing right now, we know the offense is good. The one thing now we're looking at is we're looking at this young rookie goaltending core that the Minnesota Moose have. If these 3 guys can pull it together and keep themselves solid in net and work as a platoon, this Moose team can go far. But I think because they're so successful on the front end, this goaltending, that's the question mark right now.
Ike Frankel's so good. He's so good. That's kind of what was my tipping point was you look at some of the stars, you know what I mean, in a situation like this, power rankings, because it's not just record based. It's based off of what have you done for me lately. And Ike Frankel just stands out, man. He stands out. He's a great player, talented. He's smart with the puck on his stick. He doesn't turn the thing over. He makes the right plays, and that's what makes Ike Frankel so good. This is a guy that should be on every scout's radar. Let's go to number 7, because all roads are leading to Hampton roads here, and I've been in a little bit of a battle with Kyle Watson. And cheerio, we have put the Hampton Roads Whalers in the 7th spot. And Kyle, you can't prove that I did it just because you're a Liverpool fan. All right? You can't prove it. Kyle and I were kind of having it out about the Toffees, about Liverpool, and Kyle's a little upset, Lucas, because looks like those Toffees, looks like those Blues are atop the table while Liverpool's out there giving up 7 to Aston Villa.
Well, I don't know much about football over there, Dan. I'm sort of just kind of a casual watcher of the sport along with you sometimes when we're on these trips, and I wake up to a 6 a.m. A 6 a.m. soccer football match, on the television. But I will say that the Hampton Roads Whalers are certainly no tourists in this top 10.
Good Liverpool
I pick some stuff up every now and again.
Hey,
Hampton Roads Whalers.
Blues.
Say that again.
I was going to say, I never sing the blues quite as well as when Everton win and Liverpool lose. That's it.
See, that'll be another one. If you rhyme it, it sticks with me. Rhymes and audio tech are 2 things that I can learn on the fly. But this Hampton Roads Whalers team, I mean, it's another situation where the lineage, you know that they're going to be good. You know that they're going to be fighting for the top of this division. They're in 3rd place right now, 3 points out after 4 games. The Charlotte Rush team looks, frankly, unbeatable at this stage of the game. But Hampton Roads, I think they've got a lot of things figured out, but they also have a couple things to figure out. And I think, 9 goals in 4 games is certainly not a lot, but what that means is, they lost 1 game in overtime, they lost another game. You can't keep losing these close games, and that was something they struggled with a little bit last year. So I think if you can tighten up those close games, I think you start to move up.
Yeah, and you look at Kyle Watson leading the way there, 8 goals, 4 assists, 12 points. I joke around about the whole Liverpool thing, but this guy is no joke when he gets on the ice. I apologize to the Watson family for my horrible British accent. I can't promise it won't happen again, all right? I can't promise. As an American, I feel like it's all I can do. It's just it's something we've been doing for years, and, I get it. I kind of sound like I'm from New Zealand. I always feel like I'm going for, like, Dick Van Dyke from Mary Poppins we were talking about, Lucas, like the really poor, like, the chimney sweep accent. Like, for some reason, everybody's a chimney sweep in my mind, and, like, from, like, the 1920s, but I'm going to keep moving forward here because Kyle Watson's so good. And a big guy they added to this squad is Francis Young-Menard. And this is a name it's been synonymous with winning in the USPHL. Mm-hmm. He's got a goal and 3 assists. You look at Kalen Daly, who does it daily. You look at Yo DJ, that's my DJ Randall playing out there. There's just so much talent on this Hampton Roads side. Once they figure it out, watch out. Get out the way. Train on the tracks. This is a team that could – I wouldn't be surprised if they win the Cup. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't make it out of this tough Southeast into the Nationals. They could do anything. Wouldn't surprise me. Kenny Vaught in net with that .948 saves percentage looking pristine right now. And, Lucas Oil Hockey from the Vaught family right there, Lucas. That's a nickname you were coined from them. And this Hampton Roads Whalers team could do anything. You go to number 6. It's another team that can do anything, but a team that right now has a 22 goals to none differential. That's a plus 22 goal differential. We've been playing for days, not weeks, not months, not years. And this is the Philadelphia Hockey Club who slotted at number 6.
Yeah, this one took a little convincing for me, I'll admit, because everybody knows that I'm the kind of guy that likes to see data points. I like spreadsheets. I like numbers. I like graphs. I like charts. And 2 data points does not a trend make, Dan. Anytime you have 2 points, it's always a straight line. So to me, that's really tough to make a call off of. But I got to be honest, I was impressed with some of the numbers that are coming out of the Philadelphia Hockey Club. The one question mark for me in this region, though, is their goaltending. Because while these goaltenders obviously put up 2 shutouts, they didn't face a ton of shots. And I think that, to me, sets off a probable, potential alarm bell. Not an alarm bell right now, but something to keep in mind is as these shot totals start to go up, see how those save percentages react, see if those games start to get a little more out of hand. We know they can score. The defense is still a question mark in my mind.
I agree. It's definitely a toss-up there, right? But out of the Mid-Atlantic, I needed somebody in there. And I tell you, a team on my watch list that I think could take this spot from Philadelphia Hockey Club next month, once they get up and going and playing, is the New York Aviators. And I talked to Joe Sikola on his media app, the voice of the New York Aviators. Talked to Mike Stanaway all offseason. It's a guy that had to replace over 250 points, over 300 points offensively. It's a guy who's brought in a lot of European flair to this squad, some Swedes in there. And he's always going to know how to score. The team's always going to score goals. They're never going to have a problem putting pucks in the net. And I just really think that Aviators team's eventually going to take this spot. The only reason why they didn't end up in the top 10 is just because they haven't played a game yet. So it's certainly not a punishment to them. It's just, that once they get going on the ice, they'll have a chance in this next power rankings to get themselves in the top 10. And a team that did get on the ice and did play in front of us just this past weekend at the New England Sports Center was the Springfield Picks. And I'll tell you what, they had no pixelation on this screen. They didn't lose anything live there, man. They were really, really strong. Beating the Jersey Hitmen, they looked really good in front of us, man. This is just a team that I just feel comfortable putting here. This was my squad. Lucas, you didn't really have them here. I talked you into it just because I am just floored by Perino and the work these guys are doing. I think we got to see more from the net mining. We haven't seen enough yet to know what the net mining is going to be. But offensively, they controlled the game. They look like they could be a powerhouse in the Northeast.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the Springfield Picks fall into the same category for me as the Philadelphia Hockey Club. Not enough games, not enough data points quite yet, but in the game that we did watch, it was really, really impressive. I mean, they skated downhill. They're always committing 5 guys into the zone. They're playing behind the net. They're unafraid to commit and play deep. That means they trust their defensive core. They trust their defensive skaters to be able to backskate, to be able to get back behind the play if things go south. The one question mark for me that I did notice is that when they did get a little too deep into the zone, a little too overcommitted, the Hitmen were able to pop that puck out. And they were able to run a little bit behind them, get inside the defenseman. And you want to see if the goaltending can handle that. After 1 or 2 games, you can't really make a statement about the goaltending yet, right? But as you continue to work through some of these games through the month of October, we will absolutely be keeping an eye on the Springfield Picks and how they react to some new games come the next month.
Yeah, Wyatt Freelander had the start after we had already left. Didn't get a chance to watch him play, but Matt Pelletier is a guy who was really good. Pelt in the net, man. This is a defenseman who you got to watch out. When they run this power play unit, he is so good at keeping the puck alive, pinching the boards. He can skate down with it, and he is so dangerous when he gets the shot on net. They plant bodies in front. He plays that left defensive side on the power play and creates chance after chance after chance. This is a guy who's going to have a lot of points come season's end and could challenge for one of the top defensemen in the country.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a team that's fun to watch. I mean, make no mistake. These guys were out there having a great time. They were chatting with us a little bit while we were getting ready for the game. That Rig 2 vibe where you're just about 10, 15 feet above where these players are coming out on the ice. It seems like they're having a great time out there, and that's really, really crucial. It feels like a very gelled together team.
Keeping it going, we go to the number 4 spot, and we head back to the Southeast yet again, and it's a Carolina Junior Hurricanes team with just a lot of depth and a lot of talent. One of the most talented teams in the country: Ethan Hopp, Luke Babylon, Jacob Schnapp, Tanner Booth, Daniel Now, Jacob Beedman, TJ Raynone, Patrick Peck, Zach Herman. Like, you go through it, Dylan Blue. I mean, you look at this squad. Aiden McNabb, a centerman. There's so many names we know so well. Peachy and Batista. Like, and in net, you only got like Jared Cable and David Blue, 2 guys who have been lights out for this squad. Like, there's so much here. I think they're finally ready to really take that next step here. Last year, they started putting together a lot as the year went on. But this year, I think they take a huge leap, and they just may win this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, and at the end of the day, they're winning close games. You know, they won 2 games against Hampton Roads by 1 goal. You know, and I think that goes to show you how important that team discipline is. So when you look at the goal differential, and it's not quite what you expect for the Southeast, they can win the close games. They absolutely can. And that's due in no small part to their goaltending, to the veteran presence on this Carolina Junior Canes team. The veterans can really spread some of that knowledge around, and that motivation, that ability, it manifests itself in terms of wins, in terms of close game situations. They've got a tough October ahead of them. They could very well take a tumble here if they're not careful. 2 games against the Colonials, 2 games against the Rush, 2 against the Patriots, and ending in a home and home against the Richmond Generals. That is not going to be a fun October for them.
Very, very difficult October. And you look ahead now in that October sky, and you look up at number 3. And this is a Dan K special. I fought for this one. I scraped for this one. I clawed for this one. When Lucas told me I couldn't have my way, I began to cry and kick and scream and say that I must have these guys at number 3. It is the Wisconsin Rapids River Kings, the reigning Cheese Curd Cup champions, the team that, you know, when I think about all around just kind of surviving hockey, right? Doing everything you have to do to survive games. They come from behind. They win with a lead. They can blow a team out of the rink if they need to. They can goaltend. They can stop pucks. They'll block shots. They've got the coaching. I mean, it's overall, I just can't think of like many organizations that are doing it more professionally than what Coach Marty Quarters is doing out here with the Wisconsin Rapids River Kings. And his Facebook is one of my favorite follows of all time. I mean, he saw a stick bug the one day. I haven't seen one of those in forever. Neither had he. And he's got the dog. He's got the whole the sky country life. I'm loving it out there, man. And I think this Wisconsin Rapids River Kings team knows what to do. I love what they're doing.
You know, I think they've got the lineage. Coach Marty Quarters is a huge part of that team. You know, they've got some returners this year. They've got a lot of young talent. You look down the list and you see guys who know how to play the game. Jordan Steer, Max Moore, Cole Krieger. Their top scorer right now, a rookie in Trenton Skaggs. But for me, Dan, you know me personally, I got to see more than 2 games. I have a real hard time putting a team with 2 games this high up. In fact, I had the Moose here in this area instead of the River Kings. And as luck would have it, Dan, the Moose play the River Kings in October. Imagine that. Imagine October being able to settle all of our
Yet another chance
all
for
in
Dan
30
to
days.
prove himself right. Yet another chance for Dan to prove himself right. That's all I call that. That's what I call it. You want to talk about returning names? How about Harold Juergens there at the left defense? Is that a good enough returning name for you? Like you talk about Cole Krieger. Cole Krieger's my boy. Max Moore. Come on, give me more of the max, man. Take it to the max. This guy is so dang good. And Nathan popping bottles over there, popping bottles off the back of the net with top shelf scores, homie. Max Gracer gracing us with his presence at the right wing position. Roger Scheineke, who is hard enough for me to say his name. Jordan Steer at the right defense. You put Steer and Juergens next to each other, they compete at any level of junior hockey with any D pair in junior hockey anywhere in the country. And if anybody in this world tries to tell me that Harold Juergens and Jordan Steer aren't 2 of the best defensemen on the gosh darn planet, you're outside your gosh darn gourds.
Look, everyone, you know how much I love watching Steer and Jurgens play. Harold Jurgens with the inspirational double stick tap, 2-goal performance to win the Cheese Curd Cup. You love that confidence, but now we got to see it. Now we got to see it manifest in a full slate
And
of
you betcha
October
you're going to
games.
see it.
This will be an interesting conversation to come back to, Ben.
It's going to be. I'm fired up. You got me fired up. I apologize. My picture in the background is staying calm, though. Number 2. We got to go to number 2. Another one. You had their divisional foe over them. I said, what have the Metro Jets done to get knocked out of the 2 spot? Nothing. That's why they're at number 2. 4-0. They win the schedule in front of them. Lucas Jones, the only man in the world to ask a team who's played 4 games to be 5-0 to make it into his power rankings. They can't do that. That is impossible. They're playing the schedule in front of them, and they're winning it. They will have tough schedules upcoming. We've looked at that schedule. It is difficult. It will be diverse in terms of the teams they play. Mm-hmm. But right now, I can't take the Jets out of the 2 spot.
No, and I think this is a pick where I've forgotten my place potentially in terms of taking the Metro Jets out. Because you're right, nothing has been done to remove them from the pedestal, right? They haven't lost a game. They've only been able to play the schedule that they've had in front of them. They come off an impressive performance last year after there were question marks because they had lost some really great players from 2 years prior to that. They were able, after an interesting start, maybe not so much a tough start, but definitely not something you'd expect, just steamrolling the rest of the USPHL for the rest of the season. They had title hopes in hand. Obviously, they'll be looking to come back and fulfill that destiny this season. Metro Jets, they're looking ahead. They've got that one game against the Cherokee in October. They've got Mavericks. They've got Worcester. This is going to be something where I think the Metro Jets are only going to potentially solidify their place at number 2. But I think Metro just continues to be impressive.
Yeah, Nick Cesarini comes back for him. Justin Song, Connor Graham. You look at Matt Cruz. It's just a team that has so much talent, so much returning for them. They're going to be in contention all year long. And William Augustine back between the pipes with that 1 goals against average and a .929 saves percentage. You add in Louis Pierre Fortier. He sounds like he's from Hamilton. He sounds like he's Louis Pierre Fortier. Is that how we say it? What was that? That got that was like Dracula if he was from Italy.
Your accent's been all over the place lately.
I used to be good. I could do Baby Michael Caine. I can do that still.
You can do that and apparently a New Zealand accent when you're trying to be British, and that's about it.
Everything I do is wrong. But one thing is right, Lucas. One thing is right. About 6 weeks ago, I said there was one team that stood above them all in my mind. I said there was one team that had an off season unlike any other. I said there was one team that is going to be a wagon and is going to win no matter what. And that one team is the Charlotte Rush. And the Rush to the top of our standings. David Battisti, Trip Clark in net, dominating for their squads. You go to the skaters and you just up and down the list, Lucas, just the scoring can come from anywhere on any given night. There's nobody to key in on. There's no one to stop. Shane Hemmer, Alex Davis, Anthony Vidrick, Ethan DeMumbrum, the human drum roll, Blake Veka, who's taking you on vacay. You got Alex James, you got Palin Brooks, Devlin O'Kane. Devlin O'Kane still waiting to really blow up here because he's so gosh darn good. He's going to have a huge weekend soon. Kieran St. Onge at the defenseman position too. It doesn't stop when it comes to the Charlotte Rush. It's never going to stop. And I think they're at number 1. And we talk about the number 1 team in our Premier Power Rankings. The first one has won the championship every single year. There you go, Rush.
Yeah, that's it. No pressure, though. No pressure in September now having to fulfill the Dan K Show's championship predictions legacy. But I think this is you can make the argument, and I know Dan has made the argument for how good that offensive side is. But I think the Charlotte Rush success this year is going to come down to their goaltenders. These two have just been incredible so far. And the Charlotte Rush are going to be competitive, are going to be dominant, are going to be nearly impossible to beat because of their defensive effort and because of their goaltenders. If you can even break through the Charlotte Rush's front 5 and that intense, swirling, Tasmanian devil-esque high pressure they run, you still got to get it past David Battisti and Trip Clark. And there is no way that I can overstate how huge of a pickup Tripp Clark is for the Charlotte Rush team, playing last year with the Utica Junior Comets Premier, went 14-6 with a .908 saves percentage. But this is a player who has taken 2 solid seasons, one with the Stars, then with the Junior Comets, both above a 900 save percentage, and has just found a second, third, fourth, fifth gear here with a 969 saves percentage, 1 goal on average, and then he's joined by Dave Battisti, who's also 2-0, has not given up a goal yet. Has not given up a goal in 2 games. And I think between the two of them, you've got this winning combination. If you could keep these 2 goaltenders healthy, if you could keep them involved, if you can keep the puck away from them when it doesn't need to be and they don't get overwhelmed with shots, go ahead and try to beat the Rush.
That's it, man. That's our top 10. Tied for 10th, the Northern Colorado Eagles and the Pueblo Bulls. We'll see how that plays out, and we'll see who wins that wager between Lucas and I. Number 9, the Toledo Cherokee, who are going to feel slighted here. They could have easily been number 2 or number 1. They sit at 9, though. It's 6-0, the most wins in the Premier. Oof. At number 8, the Minnesota Moose, antlers up. At number 7, the Hampton Roads Whalers, who are telling us, Lucas, that we are sleeping on them. We'll see if they're right. Let's prove us wrong here, Hampton Roads Whalers. At 6, the Philadelphia Hockey Club, 2-0 with a 22-goal to the good differential. Springfield Picks at number 5 really floored us in person. They'll have to play good to stay there. At number 4, the Carolina Junior Hurricanes. At number 3, the Wisconsin Rapids River Kings, the defending Dan K. Show Cheese Curd Cup champs. At number 2, the Metro Jets. And at number 1, rushing to the top, the Charlotte Rush. That's our top 10. You don't agree, reach out to us at _Dan Show, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or go to www.dankshow.com. We thank our partners, Elite Junior Profiles, who we ain't biased at all, man. We know they're the best in the biz. They are the best in the biz at getting you seen, your player seen at any level by any coach, anywhere. They do an incredible job of spotlighting your player. Go to elitejrprofiles.com to find out more about one of the best products in the biz. With that, we head to the empty net. A quick one this week, Lucas, to close things out.
Welcome to the empty net.
All right, folks. So for the empty net this week, obviously, this has been a tough episode to shoot. One of the toughest episodes Lucas and I have had to shoot in probably ever. And it's been a tough week. And for the empty net, rather than talking and answering the questions from you at home, I think Lucas and I were just going to tell a story that we remembered about Coach Frew. So, Lucas, let's hear your thoughts. I mean, what do you remember about Coach Frew?
Yeah, I mean, my first impressions from Coach Frew is just this incredibly warm personality, someone that just is the center of attention, but also is just lighting up a room. We went up there for a blackout night. We broke out the black shirts, the black suits, got up there. You just walked into chaos. The Mechanical Bull, you had fans milling around, you had all these different things, and Coach Frew had just said, "Hey, if you guys can make it, just come on out," and we did. And as you said, he was incredibly accommodating to us. We had such a great time, made sure everything was taken care of, and then you get to talk to players during interviews, and everybody that we got to interview just had nothing but positive things to say about him. And I think my first impression of him was, I think, the correct impression. Just this warm person, lit up a room, and just made everybody feel like they were the king of their own personal mountain.
Yeah, and my side of it, I mean, I remember all the stuff. I mean, Coach Frew, I remember the conversations before he'd take the ice, especially when he had taken his team to the NCDC and just talking about the speed, just saying, guys, I didn't know it was going to be this fast, but he's so happy. You know what I mean? He's so happy to be competing, to be behind the bench. Stories he'd tell us about buying goals by telling his team to just celebrate late in the game and throw the hands up and see if he could get the linesman to give him the goal. I mean, he's just a guy who loved the game. He just loved the game of hockey, and he made the game of hockey better by being a part of it. And there need to be more Ryan Frews out there, man.
Yeah.
You see, I remember friends on Facebook seeing his posts about his kids, about his son, and the pride he felt. I mean, our first ever guest on our audio podcast. I mean, we say we're launching an audio podcast. with no backing, no anything at the beginning of this thing, where basically just, hey, we're going to test something out. And you throw an ask to Ryan Frew, and it took him about 6 seconds to say yes. And that's the kind of guy he was. The middle of a quarantine, the beginning of this whole thing, I mean, he was there for you. And he was there for everyone in his life, and I'm sure the folks that are close to him would agree with that. I mean, for us, we were just two hockey guys trying to cover his team, and he was there for us. He gets the game. He got the game. He understood it, and we thank everyone for watching us each and every week. We are mourning with Narcs Nation, with the Frew family, and with everybody in the game of hockey this week. Going forward, I mean, just stay strong, folks. If anybody ever needs to reach out and talk, let us know. And we love you, Narcs Nation. And for the Dan K Show, I'm Dan K. And when without Ryan Frew on the hockey bench, the game of hockey will never be the same.